Today, we are going to tie the woolly bugger. So, for those of you who do not know, I am now selling packs of material that you can tie, and this is one of the packs. It is the woolly bugger. The packs contain enough information to make 6 flies. And so, the first thing is your hook and your bead. This is a size 6 B10S stinger with a size 3/16 tungsten bead. So a really nice bead and a really nice hook. So the first step is to start out back to make your tail. In your packs, if you have them, you will find this feather called a marabou feather, and this is used to make the tail of our woolly bugger. Now, I like to line all the fibers up and then measure it out so that the tail is the length of the shank of the hook. That's this piece right here. So I match that up and say, okay, that's just about right. Making your tail too long will cause it to foul or wrap around the bend of the hook, and that's no good. So here we have quite a short piece. Short tails are great. Still has a lot of movement. We work forward with our thread. Work forward with our thread. What I like to do is do a few wraps just to secure the material in here. And then following that, I'll move my thread to the front, pull my marabou forward, and catch it at the front. I do 2 wraps, 1 out front, and then I cut the marabou as close as possible. Now we can come in and just secure our material down. The next thing in your pack you'll find is a grizzly barred feather. It is dyed a very light olive. I think it makes a really great contrast. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to gently hold the tip of the feather and pull all of my fibers down. So you'll end up with something like this. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to just tie in the tip of the feather there. So there's the tip of the feather. I'm just going to tie that in right to the back of the tail. So I'm going to go all the way to the back of the tail, move forward, securing that feather in all the way to the front. The next item you'll find in your pack is called chenille. It's this sort of fluffy string looking thing. I'm going to peel off a little bit so that you should have this black tip. You see that little tip? So I'm going to peel off little fuzzies, and I'm going to tie that in right behind the bead. So I'm going to catch it in right behind the bead, and I'm going to keep the chenille on top of my fly and work all the way back to right where I tied my tail in. Then I'm going to go forward, and now we can start making the body. So I'm going to wrap in what's called touching wrap, so there's no gap in between the chenille, all the way to right behind the head. Right behind that bead, I'm going to catch my material once, twice, pull down, a few wraps out front just to secure it in, and then trim off the excess. The thread that I'm using is sort of irrelevant for a woolly bugger. You can really use any thread, but I like a relatively strong thread, a 6/0 thread at least. So the next step is to take that hackle, and the hackle that is in your pack comes from a saddle that is very, very sturdy. It's a very, very sturdy saddle hackle, so I don't worry too much about it breaking because it's very, very sturdy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lick my fingers and I'm going to start working these fibers backwards. This way they point backwards as I wrap. So I'm just going to focus on making sure that these wraps point backwards. So I will continue to do this for 5 or 6 wraps forward until I reach the head. So there's my 4th wrap, there is my 5th wrap. Now I'm at the head, I like to do 2 to 3 wraps right behind the bead to make a nice thick collar. So there's 1, there's 2, and that's all I got room for in my feather. So I'm going to cut it off at 2. Again, I'm going to do 2 wraps out front, cinch it down, 1 out front, trim the excess of your feather, and we have a beautiful buggy looking woolly bugger. Now we're going to finish with a whip finish to add just a very small collar. Careful not to trap any fibers in there. I will do typically 1 whip finish, 2 3-turn whip finishes, just to add some extra security as this fly gets hit quite a bit. And so I want that knot to be quite durable. And there is our buggy woolly bugger. So thank you for watching. Again, if you would like to tie this fly with the materials, I now sell packs of enough to tie 6 of these flies. So you can catch the link down below. If you have any questions, please reach out. And if you already bought one, thank you very much. This is Maine Fly Guys. We will see you next time.